This is the Flamethrower, live with Justin FREAKIN.
I got a Maynard over here doing his sexual anarchy pose. He's laying over here like he wants me to draw him like a French girl. Welcome to the Troll Patrol live. It's a freaking. I think I was supposed to be here last night and I was asleep. What up, clinically? Warlord. You do not get a tax return yet. You get tax returns on Friday. That's one of the stories we will be covering tonight. We're back to real news now. We've been doing fluff news the last couple times I've been with you guys. It's real news tonight. We're gonna hit you with that hardcore shit. Speaking of hardcore shit, that fucking Star Wars special. As soon as it popped up, I'm like, Warlord, are you here? And apparently you were not. We did the Star Wars special right before the Trailer Park Boys special. So, what the fuck? Well, first of all, like most of the special takes place in the Wookiee house, so there's like no dialogue. There was this weird song and dance. Like within the first 10 minutes, there was this weird song and dance with these ant people or whatever it was. They were in multicolored outfits. And then like the old spaceman creep shows up. And Chewbacca's dad gets this device put on his head. It makes him have fantasies about this woman that looked like she should have been in like a Rick James backup band. My God, it was one of the weirdest things I've ever seen in my life. I was committed to watching at least 30 minutes of it, and that's about what we watched because it was like I couldn't do it anymore. Apparently Jefferson Starship came up later on in the special. I love Jefferson Starship. I love Grace Slick. I don't even know if it would have been the Jefferson Starship with Grace Slick. He was in and out of the band multiple times. There was a time period in which a Jefferson Starship existed. There were no original members of any Jefferson project. But I think Grace Slick comes back after that. They had more members in and out than Fleetwood Mac. I had Japanese earlier. Usually have a fortune cookie, which also I'm wondering like, fortune cookies aren't Japanese, are they? That was a Chinese thing. How does this work? I thought it'd be fun times if I read my fortune here on the stream. Ain't gonna be good, is it? Smashed up. About like my fortunes. Smashed up. I never cared too much for the mysticism. I actually just like the cookies. Cookies are good. It's really dark in here. I can't read it. Take some needed time to relax in the next few days. Let me tell you something, Fortune. I slept for like fucking 28 hours or some shit over the last couple days. I don't think I need to rest anymore in the next couple days. Fortune was way off on that one. No. I actually need to work way more. I appreciate the sentiment, though. Thank you, Fortune Cookie. If I end up procrastinating, I'm going to say the cookie told me to. They're an American thing. Fair enough. Fair enough. I thought the food came from a Japanese restaurant. I guess they hire the same American fortune cookie shit. What? I was out in the kitchen sink, like wiping out my Fu Manchu, and Curious are like looking at me funny. I was like, yeah, I think it was the duck sauce. My point was all hardened. Oh shit, I didn't check and make sure the display was right. This one. There we go. Glad I didn't have like messages up or something. I see like fucking DMs from people. Doxing people on my Discord over here. I don't even know if you'd call this a meme. It's close enough. It'll suffice. I hate rap music, but I love Tom McDonald. Yep, that checks out. The van checks out. Many men died for your freedom so you can sit on the couch and lose it. Ida, do you know who Tom McDonald is? He just dropped like a double album. One was Warrior and the other one was Patriot or something like that. I'm not correct. Those weren't the names of the albums, but it was something like that. It was in that vein. Okay. It was like, I'll Google him for you. Just in case anybody doesn't know. Tom McDonald over here. Canadian. He's not even American. Jesus. What's with all these Canadians like capitalizing on the American anti-woke culture bullshit? Yeah, with singles like Sheeple and Brainwashed and Fake Woke and White Boys. People so stupid. This is where the capitalism is at. What's up, devil? Oh, sorry. Not hit the content warning before we did that. Hog tatted on his lip. I don't get it. Check out that grill he got going on. Motherfucker is pumping out as much content as he can just to take advantage. Like, you gotta milk the losers, I guess. Like, he knows that his time, his fame is limited. I gotta get that money while I can.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
That's pretty much the gist of all the songs. Ooh. You can find out the origins, where that comes from.
Up yours, woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Probably know the origins. Apparently it's a Jordan Peterson thing. Or maybe you've wondered what exactly Charlie Kirk said this in relation to.
You live in sexual anarchy?
Perhaps you've wondered where those phrases came from. Well, wonder no longer. If you've got the Spotify, the Stitcher, something like that, if you've got the YouTube, you can check out the 9-hour Best of 2022 Troll Patrol episode. I tried to upload it to the YouTube before we started, but it wouldn't have finished before it was time for me to be on here with you guys. So it will be up by tomorrow. It is 9 hours, so you got to give it a little time. I will go back and I will put chapters. So if you just want to check out when I got hate rated by the Groypers and when I talked to Dalton Codfelter, You want to just see that part? I'm going to have that marked on a chapter so you can go straight to it. You just want to see Charlie Kirk and the sexual anarchy. I'll have that for you. Spoiler alert, it was in relation to the Super Bowl halftime show. If you want to see Lauren Boebert talk about wonton killings, I'll have that for you. So many fantastic moments. I do believe me talking to Almanero Report. I believe that is on there. Matt Walsh. I guess that's the biggest thing that happened to me this year. Matt Walsh playing a clip of the Troll Patrol on his show. That was pretty cool. That's where he said,
Justin FREAKIN, the formidable voice in the culture.
Soup, good evening. And yes, I troll like the worst people on the right. And so, of course, Facebook recommended Tom McDonald to me. That was a given. And oh my God, Twitter is becoming... So I don't follow any chuds on Twitter. I take that back. I follow Fabian. I follow like streamers my size. I follow Fabian for Liberty. That is a chud I follow on Twitter. Who tells me I'm clout chasing. I'm the bigger streamer. It's weird. He's not gonna respond to me because I'm clout chasing, he says. But on Twitter, like, it is nothing but the Hodge twins, that Nick Adams guy, fucking Dennis Prager. That is all I get on Twitter now, and I don't follow any of these people. I do not follow any, like, I follow chuds on Facebook. I don't follow chuds on Twitter. I follow based people on Twitter. What is up, Squid? Good evening. Facebook is absolutely trash, but if you want to argue with dumb fucks, that's the place to do it. And I argue with dumb fucks. How do we get on this topic? Oh, yeah. I guess this is your meme for the day. It's something I saw on the internet and it made me chuckle. So you get to see it too. But I got news for you. We're going to find out what that news be doing. Dozens killed in a historic snowstorm. The body count keeps rising. Last time I checked, it was 57. When I started working on this show this morning, it was 27. By last count, at least 57 dead. More snow is expected. They are bracing for more snow in the Northeast. Flights have been canceled across the U.S. Apparently there's some fuckery going on. It might be the capitalism. I tell you what's not flying. There are some Russian drones that are not flying tonight after they got shot down. Speaking of drones, we're going to talk about North Korean drones flying into South Korean airspace. Then we're going to get into the crime and punishment part of the show. So I've got updates on stories that we had been following, such as the infant that went missing. 2 infants got kidnapped. One was found at the airport. Last I left you when we were talking about this story, another infant was on the run with a homeless woman. I got an update on that story. A woman had a baby in the woods. Apparently her dad is a famous hockey player. I believe the baby is actually alive. This isn't a murder story. What was a murder story was this kid in Florida got killed by its mother. It's always Florida. Got an update on the mall shooting that took place in the Mall of America last week, right before, just in time for Christmas. I've got this story. I don't know how you guys are going to feel about this one. I don't know who we're going to root on in this story. I have video of police shooting and killing multimillionaire, entrepreneur, venture capitalist type dude. So it's like ACAB, but also like good job officers, maybe? I don't know. We don't have the details. Maybe this dude was cool. Maybe he didn't deserve it. He probably didn't deserve it. Maybe he did. Bunch of power substations got attacked in Washington State. Seems to be a new form of domestic terrorism. This happened while we had severe cold across the United States. The would-be kidnapper in the plot to kidnap the governor of Michigan has been sentenced. Governor Greg Abbott pulling another one of his stunts, sending migrants from Texas to the doorstep of the vice president. The Supreme Court earlier today ruling to keep Title 42 in place. As we talked about earlier, Trump's taxes set to be released on Friday. I debated whether to put this story on here or not. Chris Hayes had some legal experts on the other day, and apparently they're all saying indictments are coming. It'll be fun. It'll be fun it'll be brain rot we can watch. I think they may be right though. I promised I would shave my head if Trump got indicted, and I'm not gonna be surprised if I have to shave my head. I think Lindsey Graham might get indicted. Graham apparently wanted to use credit card company technology to throw out Georgia votes. New details on the plot to overturn the 2020 election. The owner of the site Libs of TikTok, Chaya Raichik, went on with Tucker Carlson. Apparently is an appalling piece of business. I got a little clip to play you of Miss Chaya Raichik on with Tucker Carlson, and it only took a couple of hours after that interview dropped that a person who studies extremism was able to pinpoint her in footage being at the Capitol on January 6th, which really isn't a surprise. Katie Hobbs wanted Carrie Lake. I was spacing on her first name there for a second. Katie Hobbs, the governor-elect in Arizona, wanted Carrie Lake sanctioned for her actions. I have an update about the judge's decision. Remember our gay Jewish friend, the representative-elect, gay Jewish Republican who apparently lied about being gay and about being Jewish. He has owned up to lying about his work history, apparently. Maybe. I don't know. We're going to hear from him. We're going to hear it from the horse's mouth. Tom Cotton apparently doesn't spend much time in Arkansas, but I've been to Arkansas. I can't really blame Tom Cotton on that one. there was some sort of discovery of ancient DNA, Greenland or Iceland or some shit like that. We'll get the full story. Plus, I got a chunky cat. I'm going to show you a real chunky cat. That's what we got going on tonight on the Troll Patrol Live. Dude, that's how you do a teaser. That's how you keep people here towards to the end. Squid, you got a pretty clean timeline, eh? My Twitter is relatively new, right? So this is like my 6th or 7th Twitter. I haven't groomed it. I haven't groomed my Twitter properly yet. Windover Productions. I watched the How Florida Got Weird video. Talking about how like the different sections and how different developers, and it was made to be like a, an affluent community, almost like a whole state of gated communities. Fucking Windover Productions does good work. I'm a big fan of YouTube video essays. I don't watch a lot of people that do reaction content like myself. I don't want it to seep into what I do. I do watch a lot of video essays. Big fan of the YouTube video essay. Windover Productions is one of my favorites. I was really into this Moon channel. They're a little right-wing conspiratorial. Like I really like their videos, and instead of like calling out capitalism, it always gets to what's the cause, what's causing all this, and it's always like wokeness. And I just laugh. I'm like, no, that's not it. No. Capitalism. You're not calling it out properly. The wokies. Wokies ruin everything. Alright, so the first half of this show, maybe a little bit more, is gonna be a real bummer. Sorry. Real bummer. Second half is where the fun shit is. We're starting off real downer shit. But we do the news. If it bleeds, it leads, motherfuckers. Ran people off with that. Good. Don't want to bum you out. Raylio, good evening.
Loss. This morning, Buffalo still not out of the woods. Western New York could see
God damn
tonight after more than 4 feet brought Buffalo to a frigid halt.
Nothing can compare to this storm.
The Tisdale family says they almost didn't survive after their car got stuck in the whiteout. Thankfully, firefighters came to the rescue.
They saved our lives. So many people didn't make it out of their cars. So many people didn't make it out of their homes.
The severe winter weather blamed for nearly 60 deaths nationwide. One of the state's hardest hit.
I think they are expecting that number to continue to rise.
Of emergency after officials reported more than 24 weather-related deaths.
It is painful to find members of your community that are deceased, who were trying to walk out during storm conditions, got disoriented, and passed away out in the street.
Navigating streets turned to parking lots. Authorities also facing reported looting.
I don't know how these people can even live with themselves, how they can look at themselves in the mirror. They are the lowest of the low.
This as first responders continue to help Buffalo residents.
Oh no, I can think much lower people.
Assisting road clearing crews.
You know who is lower than any looter? Anybody who jacks up their prices. Response to a situation like this. Far worse than a looter.
Checking for stranded motorists and assisting in search and rescue efforts.
It's up in flames now.
While firefighters struggled to control a multiple home fire in the deep snow yesterday. And
all
the
cops
will remain
are
closed until Wednesday
lower
morning
than those
as the area
looters.
braces for a touch of more snow today. That viral Christmas party with stranded South Korean tourists giving Josip Choi and his wife a honeymoon he'll never forget.
I got a
Whoa.
family member in Buffalo too, so you know.
We went from 57 deaths to, you know, that viral video? Look at these happy stranded tourists. Well, it is the Today Show. What did I expect?
Is going to go even higher. WGN's Andrea Medina live in the newsroom with more on this. Andrea.
Hi, Pat.
That's my bad, you know. It's like Michael in the fridge that said dead pigeon, and he looks in the bag. He's like, "Well, I don't know what I expected."
Lourdes, Buffalo, and surrounding communities are just starting to dig themselves out from the massive blizzard, but residents are not in the clear yet as another round of snow is expected. It has been 5 days since Buffalo, New York got pummeled by a relentless snowstorm.
It was just so heavy we couldn't even get our snowblower out because we had a 6-foot drift in front of the garage.
Too much snow to blow.
Unbearable and dangerous for all.
The conditions, the blinding snow, the zero visibility, absolute whiteouts. It may go down as one of the worst in history.
But the devastation is not behind them yet. According to the National Weather Service, several more inches of snow is predicted to come on Tuesday. While it won't be like last week's massive storm, Buffalo has already recorded more than 95 inches, which is typically what the area sees in the entire winter season. During the peak of the storm, vehicles were buried under mounds of snow and left abandoned on the streets. People were also trapped inside their homes, some even without power in the freezing cold.
You tell us not to leave, we don't leave, and then we die in our houses and in our apartments. They just need to be more prepared for something like this.
At one point, the snowstorm trapped every emergency vehicle and slowed response times. It made things complicated for men and women who are devoted to saving lives.
We've got snow drifts up to second floor windows. We've got cars that are just disappearing.
That's a hell of a
People
mustache,
can't get out of their
dude.
houses. People can't get next door. They can't get to their driveways. They can't, firefighters and paramedics are having trouble just responding to these calls. I've never seen such difficulty in just merely getting out the door.
With the frigid temperatures, high winds, and whiteout snow, circumstances were beyond anyone's control. But there's a light at the end of the tunnel, with warmer temperatures forecasted later this week. And since the storm started, National Guard troops carried out more than 550 rescues across the Buffalo area. But unfortunately, about 24 people have died as a result of the weather. President Joe Biden said his prayers are with the victims' families and has offered federal assistance to help clean up. In the newsroom, Andrea Medina, WGN News.
More snow expected tomorrow. God damn. Chaos in our nation's airports. Holiday travel meets with a crazy ass storm. All kinds of flights have been canceled. Apparently, the airlines, not only were they understaffing, they are working with an antiquated system and they don't have real-time tracking for their flight staff and crew. So, like, these crews have, like, mandatory time that they have to take off, or they have to check into a hotel, and they're having to manually call in and report to their airlines that they're at a hotel room. And it's causing these hours and hours long queues. It is insane. Holy shit. And we have bailed the airlines out multiple times. We should totally nationalize them.
To the Southwest Airlines debacle, the Department of Transportation now investigating the mass cancellation of flights as so many passengers, they are still trying to get home. And Alex Perez is live at O'Hare Airport in Chicago with the story. Alex, good morning. What a mess.
Hey, good morning, Gio. Yeah, frustrated passengers are stuck at airports across the country. The return home from Christmas for many has become a flat-out nightmare. This morning,
They said no one's getting on a Southwest flight for 4 days, and they said we can't help you go home.
Southwest Airlines melting
Mox,
down in the wake
Sassy,
of the Christmas holiday.
good evening.
Christmas was just ruined. This was the worst Christmas ever.
While 3,800 flights were canceled across the country Monday after the punishing winter storm, nearly 3/4 of them were Southwest flights. And the company has already canceled over 2,500 flights today, with more misery expected this week.
It's been catastrophic. It is simply a failure of Southwest management.
When asked about the collapse, a spokesperson for Southwest blaming the weather.
I think it's just the sheer size of the storm. It's just the fact that this one started west, swept east, and impacted almost every single one of our largest airports that put us in a position where...
Buddy, it's December. You're telling me that you didn't know it was going to be cold and snowy in Chicago in December.
where we struggled to recover and we struggled to get our flight crews and airplanes where they needed to be.
In a statement, the company vowing we'll work to make things right for those that we've let down. We recognize falling short and sincerely apologize. But this morning, federal officials are launching an investigation into the chaotic response. The Department of Transportation saying it is concerned by Southwest's unacceptable rates of cancellations and delays and reports of a lack of prompt customer service, adding it will investigate whether cancellations were controllable. The airline's own employees were blaming the company for not being better prepared. Some Southwest flight crews are being left on hold for up to 10 hours while they wait for scheduling instructions.
If I'm not mistaken, they laid off a bunch of people during COVID and they haven't brought back the staff to the level that they were. Something like a third of their staff is yet to be rehired back. I might be wrong on that number, but it seems like I read that somewhere. That'll cause problems because I'm assuming they were already understaffed before COVID.
From weary travelers sleeping on airport floors to unclaimed luggage pileups, the harsh reality was everywhere.
Unfortunately, our next available seats for rebooking are on the 31st and beyond.
Loudspeakers warning flyers in Houston they shouldn't expect to get a flight out for at least 6 days. Others boarding crowded buses chartered by Southwest. One bus headed from Raleigh to Nashville, a 500-mile ride that will take more than 8 hours.
I definitely did not anticipate having to go from an hour and a half flight to taking an 8-hour road trip.
And it's expected to take more than a week of playing catch.
I do believe I saw Tim Pool was in Chicago and was like begging people to put together some kind of caravan or some shit to make the trek back to DC. Speaking of Tim Pool, I have a beanie now.
Catch up for Southwest's flight schedule to get back on track. Guys?
More than a week. What a total disaster. Alex, thank you. And Gio, you, of course, are a transportation expert. We were talking about this earlier. You say you've never seen anything like this.
And Mary, the experts I've spoken to, they've never seen anything like this. It is unprecedented. And when you look at the other airlines and what happened yesterday, they weren't anywhere near what was happening with Southwest. So rightfully so, the Department of Transportation is saying, wait a minute, why did that happen? What needs to happen now?
On the beanie train.
Because in November, we know they did fine some airlines over refunds. So that's very possible in something like this. We don't know, but we're going to keep following this. It's crazy.
The idea of people getting on a bus for 8 hours when a flight couldn't take off is unbelievable.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Unbelievable.
I might like the beanie. I might be on the beanie train. I popped in Echoplex the other night. Producer Dave was doing the beanie. I was a little jealous of his beanie. Oh, fucking shit. So, speaking of things not in the air anymore, drone was shot down in Russia. Apparently, a couple of Was it Russian?
Ukraine has apparently
soldiers?
shown that it has the reach and the resolve to strike deep inside Russian territory. Russia said yesterday that 3 of its airmen were killed when a Ukrainian drone was shot down near the Engels military airfield. That's a strategic bomber base. It's located hundreds of miles from the front line.
See, my numbers went up when I put the beanie on. Beanie is magic.
A similar drone attack targeted the base 3 weeks ago. Ukraine has not publicly claimed responsibility for either of those drone attacks.
Hey, thanks for watching. Don't miss the Today Show every weekday at 11.
Fuck you, Al Roker. I don't know what Al did to anybody. I don't know what's up with me and picking like Today's Show like short ass pieces. Taught us nothing about what's going on in Russia. Doing a disservice. Maybe this one will do better and we'll find out what's going on in North Korea. I feel like I look like is it Kearney on The Simpsons? Is the one with the beanie? Is Kearney his name? I feel like he's got some whiskers going on. We've been doing fluff the last few times I've been with you guys. It's been all fluff. I got to find out what that news be doing. This as I said before, like the first hour and a half. This is some hardcore stuff we got going on here. Content warning, fuckers. Laugh at some right wingers towards the end of the show. It's always fun if the internet hangs on. Looks like it might not want to cooperate. I might not be able to cooperate. I actually on a day walker schedule. I was actually up today during day hours. That's weird for me. I didn't just wake up. I've been up all day today. So I don't know. Like I might be a little tired. I might be a little slap happy for tonight's stream. Oh yeah, North Korea. Let's fuck with some North Korea. Oh, I gotta read it. Residents of Seoul expressed concern after North Korea launched a series of drones. Drones across its border, sparking a military response from South Korea.
무인기에 뭐 폭탄을
Had this terrifying thinking of what if the drones were loaded with bombs that would trigger a war or something.
생각도 좀 들기도 하고.
As any ordinary citizen, there's nothing I can do if that really happens.
그때 되면은 이제 어떻게 해야 될까?
So I can't help but think what I would do if a war broke out.
많이 불안해요. 저 이제 러시아
Seeing several attacks using weapons of mass destruction as well as chemical ones carried out by drones in recent conflicts.
침공을 하고 있는
In
상황인데
a way, this incident clearly showed that it's possible here too.
어떻게 보면은
As I understand it, most of them don't like live their daily lives in fear of North Korea. I think our response was much more insufficient than I thought it would be. Maybe we are too dependent on the U.S. military. Now that's a good possibility. It looks like we're always responding a little too late. Not trying to stoke fear in South Korea. As I understand it, like they don't often think about the possibility of war with North Korea because like they see that like they don't see North Korea the way we see North Korea. Like they see them as, you know, just a estranged family member. A weird relationship. much U.S. imperialistic propaganda that we're seeing things. Let's talk about the shooting at the Mall of America the day before Christmas Eve, I believe, on the 23rd. Multiple shootings have happened at the Mall of America this year.
Minnesota's largest tourist attraction has shoppers asking, how does the Mall of America plan to keep us safe?
Well, bullets flew on 3 separate occasions this year, setting off lockdowns. The most recent shooting happened on Friday, which is the second busiest shopping day of the year, and it left a teenager dead just days before Christmas. So the question now is, what happens next? Fox 9 went back to the MO.
Notice that he mentioned shopping before the dead teenager. The fact that it was the busiest shopping day, or the second busiest shopping day of the year, was more important than the dead teenager.
Day, and it seemed like it was business as usual. The parking lots were full and shoppers galore.
So let's bring in Rose Schmidt, who has been on top of MOA safety for the last 6 months. And so, Rose, what's the mall doing?
It was business as usual the next day.
Well, Kelsey, 3 times over the last...
Good Lord, just another day. Mass shooting USA. My God, have I gotten a lot of use out of that graphic.
Last year, shots rang out in the Mall of America, sending shoppers and staff members running for cover. The most recent incident on Friday. Today, we asked about the mall's plan going forward, and we're told it takes safety and security very seriously. Nordstrom is back open 3 days after Bloomington police responded to the sound of gunshots on the first floor. Shoppers now noticing some changes.
A lot more officers at the entrance and entrance to stores and stuff like that too.
In the last year, the Mall of America has had 4 incidents involving guns, with shots fired 3 times, starting with New Year's Eve, when a single bullet hit 2 people. And a mall spokesperson reassured holiday shoppers.
We have extensive video surveillance, we have state-of-the-art equipment, and we have security officers.
Please still shop.
Exclusively in
we
that
need
area
you to shop.
Professionals, and they will work closely with the Bloomington police investigators to make sure that we find all evidence.
Then in August, shots rang out at the Nike store. The same spokesperson telling shoppers the mall's been open for 30 years and has a, quote, incredible safety record.
Guests will expect to see an increased presence of both Mall of America security and our partners in law enforcement.
That brings us to this week, when police say the shooting Friday night at Nordstrom left a 19-year-old man dead. The mall declined Fox 9's request for an on-camera interview Monday, but told us in a statement additional security resources have been put into place that are both visible and non-visible to guests. We specifically asked whether the mall is still testing metal detectors, as we reported back in October. But a spokesperson would only say they're still testing multiple security measures. Shoppers, though, telling Fox 9 that they would like to see metal detectors on a permanent basis.
It'd make me feel safer, especially what's been happening this year.
100% for it. It's better to...
I don't know if I want to get a pat down to go into a mall.
After it happens.
I don't know that I want to go into a mall, period.
Saying today it has an extensive system of cameras, as well as canines, bike patrols, and police.
Is it just me, or does she look like that's like a mannequin's body? Like, look at those hands. You ain't fooling anybody, ma'am. You're some sort of animatronic, aren't you? There's something not right. Maybe I'm wrong. You seem like a lovely lady, but like, there's just something about your body that doesn't seem lifelike. Poor woman. I shouldn't comment on her looks. There's no way she's reptilian. God, horrible. Also, that wasn't funny. I should be let down. Okay. So, exactly, like she could be a very pleasant android. So this one I'm excited for. So we have the cops shooting a multimillionaire entrepreneur outside of his home. And I believe we've watched this Isaiah dude before. He's always fun. This is going to be a whole fun piece. This is Isaiah Uncensored.
Horrifying video shows the final moments of Austin homeowner Rajan David Musinji. Now, police shot and killed him outside of his home in November.
Oh, now see, this is, we add a whole nother layer to it. So this wasn't some white guy. Is that racist to me that when I hear like multimillionaire entrepreneur, I automatically think some crusty white guy that I think might have it coming to him? But no, we've got a whole layer of racism in this story as well. That is shit on me to automatically assume that it was some like snooty white guy.
Burr.
David 309 shots.
Cancel Justin.
Suspects down. Hands are up.
It wasn't me. Put your hands to it now. It wasn't me.
You know, I think we've watched this video.
His last words, "It wasn't me," before he was shot 4 times by Austin police officers. Now, police were responding to a call about a man pointing a rifle at his own home.
Yeah. I was very upset that they came and shot him because we watched this a week or two ago.
According to the caller, Musinji seemed to be scared of something inside of his home. Austin PD says when officers arrived, he was standing on the porch continuously shooting into the home. He shot 2 times, twice. Officers told Musinji to drop his weapon, and when Musinji did not, an officer shot him. My next guest is weighing in on this situation.
I mean, yeah, sometimes I am an idiot.
And joining us now to talk about this case is Greg Dupree, a former police officer and security expert. When you look at this videotape or
hey, Gab means him too.
Musinga being shot by Austin police.
This idiot's got a sweet beanie.
There's a lot going on, a lot to unpack in this case.
And that's true, Isaiah. There is a whole lot to unpack in this case. You know, it's a tragedy, obviously. But when you take all...
Son, this is America. You greet everybody with a gun.
You had the homeowner armed with a weapon. You had the guy on the phone giving the dispatcher the information about it. And let's be perfectly honest. He didn't talk to the homeowner enough to know exactly who he was and what he was doing. If he did, he didn't relay that information.
What I see is a man exercising his Second Amendment right on his property, and he ain't harming nobody.
To the dispatcher. The dispatcher, I don't know whether or not she relayed all the information to the officers before they pulled up. But when you have all these different factors in play, they all contribute to this death. You know, it's tragic. If you ask me, did the police officer overreact from the time he pulled up to the scene? That's very possible. But we can't determine that until we get all the factors.
Chainsaw, welcome, my friend.
And everything else, the reports, and see what they say. But this is not, in my opinion, this is not a cut and dry.
Buddy, the Supreme Court has ruled you got the right to shoot a cop if they on your property illegally.
And it resulted in the guy's death.
Yeah, and you had Musinga shooting at least twice into his own property. The police are pulling up as he's firing shots into his house.
Right.
And according to his family and friends, he thought he had just returned from California, trip in California.
See, I tell people not to own a gun because it makes you less safe.
Around, and then you have police arriving on the scene
just for this reason.
While he's discharging, the homeowner is discharging his weapon.
Exactly.
That is a recipe for
then people that are supposedly on the side of the Second Amendment show up. Be like, oh, you got to disorder arm yourself when the cops show up. What?
And you don't know if the person with the weapon is the suspect or the homeowner, or the victim, and you don't know whether or not that person is going to turn on you with that weapon. But you also have to take into consideration that
watch too many goddamn videos of the cops showing up and killing
this person possibly had
a good guy with a gun.
So if that information was relayed to the officers before they pulled up, they had to take that into consideration too. When they pull up and they see a man with a weapon firing a weapon who could possibly have mental health issues.
One of the things that we heard in previous reporting on this was that the officer issued a warning, but immediately started firing before he.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Draws a gun.
Yep. Fuck. Fuckity fuck.
His intent was.
Fuck. Profanity. I'm gonna come over here. I'm gonna snooze the ads on Twitch. I'm gonna try to get through the no profanity.
Correct, by issuing the warning, but at a heightened stress level, he could have just thought he was giving the warning before he fired his weapon and just pretty much fired him at.
Buddy, you can't. The cops can't shoot somebody because, he might shoot someone in a situation
like this. How do you know whether or not the person that's firing the
fucking bootlickers
you're sent to deal with is actually going to hear what you have to hear you saying? Warning.
The analogy they gave, the speed of the bullet travels faster than the officer's voice and what he is saying. So
exactly.
Did Raj even actually hear him? What advice would you give to law enforcement officers in a case like this, Greg, which you're years
Suck my cock.
both in Houston and in Colorado as a police officer?
Well,
that's the advice I'd give to the cops.
Wouldn't be that much other than to assess the situation as quickly as you can, take cover. You want to make sure when you're pulling up to the scene, you're in the best strategic position or tactical position as possible. You want to be in a position where both you and your partner are.
I'll tell you what position to be in.
By nothing else, the police vehicle. But the advice that I have more so is
whatever position is most comfortable for you to suck my cock.
You have to take into consideration that anytime you pull a weapon and leave your home, and even though you're on your property, when you're walking outside the perimeter, you're going to get. You should be aware that you're going to get the same result from your neighbors and other passersby.
Does any of that count as profanity? Do I have to reset the clock?
To them, you seem like a threat to the safety, at least the public safety, and that's the information they're going to relay to the police. So you want to. I hate to say this.
I am told time and time again, the people with the guns are keeping the peace.
That, hey, if the police come to my home and see me armed with a weapon, how do they know that I'm the homeowner? Unless I'm the one that's called the police and say, look, I possibly got a burglar in my house. This guy obviously was trying to deal with this situation himself, but he was also in a position where he could exit his home and contact the police and let them come deal with it without a weapon. But obviously he didn't do that, and unfortunately resulted in his death.
Well, you ever met the cops? Of course you have. They're incompetent.
Case to unpack, and of course, I'm sure that the district attorney will take a look at this as well as the internal investigation.
I am sorry that this was a story that we'd already covered. I thought this was going to be new footage we were going to be watching. This one's going to be heartbreaking. I don't even know why I'm doing this. Just because there's like multiple kid tragedies, stories to cover. Hell yeah, you did, Chainsaw. Good evening, my friend. Welcome.
And we begin this new with a heartbreaking story in North Miami Beach. Police are
That's what I just said.
They say a 3-year-old girl was killed, and we are told her mother is now in custody in connection with her tragic death. We appreciate your time this afternoon. I'm Roxanne Vargas.
And I'm Constance Jones. NBC6's Amanda Placencia. She's live from North Miami Beach with what police are saying about this crime. Amanda.
Amanda Placenta.
Well, Constance and Roxy, the details of this case are just horrific. A 3-year-old girl murdered by her own mother. Now, this scene has been active since early this morning. You see police here, the scene blocked off as this happened inside of an apartment in this complex along 163rd Street near Northeast 10th Avenue. Now, police say around 2 a.m. there was a 911 call from someone saying that they were the child's mother, reporting that she was stabbing her daughter. North Miami Beach police
stabbing?
That her 3-year-old child was killed. We also saw the Miami-Dade medical examiner on the scene to take that child's body. We don't know what could have led that mother to do something so drastic, but the child's mother has been taken into custody and is considered a suspect in this homicide. We also spoke to 2 women who work in the area and were just stunned to hear what happened.
Jesus.
Oh my God, I have 4 kids with me, so I'm so really scared. Also about this situation, please. I'm talking as a mother.
Triste, lamentable, porque
This woman says it's incredibly sad that an innocent child was killed, especially at the hands of her own mother.
The beanie might be making my head itch. Yeah, nice beanie.
Just a terrible situation here. Now, investigators have not released further details as to the name of that child or that name of that child's mother. As soon as we get further updates, we'll bring them to you live on air. Reporting live from North Miami Beach, Amanda Placencia, NBC6 News.
That's not the only heartbreaking story I have for you about a kid. This one is a crazy story. I don't know what to think about this. Available money. Huh. Oh, that would explain it. I don't know what to do about that. Not available in my region, though. Let's go with going up to New Hampshire, where apparently this woman is the daughter of a famous NHL player.
Freezing cold night. Thankfully, that baby boy is now safe in a hospital. His mother is facing criminal charges. Thanks for joining us. I'm Chris Tanaka. WBZ's Christina Rex is live in Manchester, New Hampshire tonight. She just spoke with investigators about a truly disturbing incident, Christina.
Indeed.
Yeah, Chris, police believe that woman intentionally led them in the opposite direction of where that baby actually was. So it took them an hour to find that newborn. Any longer, they say, and he may not have survived.
Most likely going to believe to be one baby you're looking for.
The 911 call came in after midnight, a pregnancy issue at a homeless encampment near the West Side Arena in Manchester.
There was a woman there who told them that she had a baby, but there was no baby with her. So there was an immediate concern.
There, paramedics found 26-year-old Alexandra Eckersley having just given birth, but with no baby in sight. Then began a frantic search in the woods. First responders say Eckersley intentionally led them in the opposite direction of the baby. After 1 hour, they say the mother confessed the baby's whereabouts, and firefighters found the newborn boy alone on the floor of a tent with no clothes or blanket.
Had we not collectively located that little boy when we did and rendered the first aid that was rendered, I'm quite confident the child probably would have died in that tent.
They rushed the baby and Eckersley to 2 different hospitals. This holiday night search, traumatic for first responders.
We've got a great job, but we're regular people. We're fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters and cousins, and it can't help but affect you.
New Hampshire has a safe haven law, allowing parents to drop a baby off anonymously for the state to take custody.
Come to a firehouse, come to a police station, go to a church, go to a hospital.
There are resources for people in a desperate situation. The police chief says resorting to what is alleged to have happened in these woods is never the answer.
So if you choose to live in the woods and you refuse our outreach, you refuse services, then so be it. That's your decision as an individual, but you don't get to do this to a child.
And as of early this evening, that baby is still in the hospital and his condition is improving. Now, Eckersley is expected to be arraigned tomorrow. For this incident, she's facing felony reckless conduct charges. She's also facing unrelated endangering of a child.
Yeah, I noticed that too, Sue.
In Concord. For now, live in Manchester, New Hampshire, Christina Rex, WBZ News.
If they choose to live in the woods. Well, ACAB means, well, that dude was like a firefighter. I think he might have been emergency services. I don't think he was a cop. So, update on a story that we did last week. There's a woman in Ohio. Oh. I accidentally put my VPN overseas, and now I'm getting denied by a lot of the local news stations. Oh, God. No, that's not it. In Ohio? Did the story about the homeless woman. Yeah, totally. All these local news stations are. So let's hope the Daily Mail has the update. No, that's not it. That's not it. Anyway, I can swear now. Goddamn right. The homeless woman that stole the car that had the 2 infants in it. We found one infant at the airport. The other one was still missing. They found that infant. She was in Indiana. She's been arrested. They're holding her on separate charges in Indiana. She actually had her first court appearance today, and that was the story I was going to show you. But I can't do it because my VPN is connected to an overseas server by accident. Didn't mean to do that because I knew that kind of stuff would happen. But anyway, we're going to talk about attacks on power substations. The kidnapper in the Gretchen Whitmer case has been sentenced. The Greg Abbott migrant stunt over Christmas. Trump's taxes are going to get released on Friday. We're going to listen to legal experts talk about the possibility of indictments heading Trump's way. Plus, Chaya Raichik was on Tucker Carlson. It only took a couple hours for them to identify her in video from January 6th. All that and more on the other side of the break here on the Troll Patrol Live. Gwyneth Paltrow is one of the biggest stars on earth. An actress, a singer, an author, an entrepreneur. She is an Academy Award winner and owner of a successful lifestyle brand, albeit with a questionable name. Why then is she stealing her ideas from a barely known comedian from Appalachia? Earlier this year, Paltrow launched her This Candle Smells Like My Vagina product under her Goop brand. There's just one little issue, Miss Paltrow. I came up with the idea for pussy candles back in 2013. It's from my stand-up comedy routine, Pussy in the Morning, where I coined the concept of a vagina-scented perfume I called Eau de Toit. The next line in that routine goes a little something like this.
And that inspired me to create a scented candle, which also looks like a vagina and smells like a turned-on vagina. So you burn it, you get the smell of vagina, and then after it's finished, it looks like a freshly fucked pussy, all floppy and sloppy.
So, since Miss Paltrow is clearly infringing on an idea I had that long predates her product, I would like a cut of that 75 just Elton John. Elton John? Why does he like the smell of pussy? You might need to refresh. I switched my server back to the US, so I don't get blocked out of my other stories. Oh, also, we're gonna look at Kristi Noem's Christmas present. Kristi Noem got a badass Christmas present. We're gonna check it out. She apparently put a video of it up on Twitter. A fortune cookie. We need to take it easy. Oh shit. Didn't know who it was giving a fortune to. Smokey. Fucking chill, dude. Fucking chill. I don't really know where Kristi Noem fits in here. They're all kind of serious stories, and then like Kristi Noem and her flamethrower get thrown in. Oh shit. Smokey, chill. I mean, let Smokey out. Maynard's over here being good. That's not usual. Say hi to everybody. I think he probably wants my attention. Not so much that he wants to go out, it's that like he wants me to pay attention to him. Alright, buddy, I'll let you out. They all beef with the kitten. Like the kitten is just rowdy. Man, the kitten is rowdy. What, Warlord? What do you mean delay? No delay here. I had to, I was on a European server and I was getting denied on local news sites because they don't want to have to comply with EU regulations, so they just block anything that's not in the US. I had to switch my server during the break. I'm sorry to anybody on YouTube that might have got put into a different stream. Fuzzy Simba, good evening. What do you think? The kitten will be trouble as an adult? Kitten's just wild. Okay, so the kitten was possibly feral. He was found inside a vehicle. So we don't know. It don't have a lip. Like part of her jaw is missing or some shit. So like she rough kitten, right? She's already had a wild life. But she hit the kitten jackpot. Living with Curious Her, she hit the kitten jackpot. She's gonna be well taken care of. But she is wild. And she loves fucking with the other cats. Like, she wants to square up with every single other cat in this house at all times. Like, I'll fight you all. I'm the smallest thing here, but I will fight all of you at once. It cracks me up. She climbs the wall over here. Because I love having her in here. But like she gets to where she's like coming after my headphone cable, and or she'll be hanging off my pant leg. Then she'll go over and she'll climb the fucking wall. But the fact is she don't have no lip. And that's why she looks all funny whenever I hold her up to the camera and she got like her tongue's hanging out. She always looks a little, like but it's adorable. I think Smokey likes playing with her now, but like Socks doesn't like her. Maynard doesn't like her. That's probably why Maynard's in here right now. Maynard's like, I need a break from her. He's just chilling over here. Hey, Maynard. He's the only cat I got. The only cat that's in here with me right now. All the rest of them left me. Right before the show, all three of them were laying on the futon. I was like, ooh, it's so nice. I just lay in between all three of you. I'll cuddle up, take a nap. It'd be real nice. But no, I skipped out on last night. I wasn't gonna skip out on tonight. I figured I deserved last night. It was like a holiday. Because I was on Christmas, I got to take a holiday day. It was like the day after Christmas. I legitimately slept through the show. Let's talk about the people who were without power over the Christmas holiday. Happening in Washington State. We had the story just a couple of weeks ago. A power substation being attacked in North Carolina. Now we have multiple power substations in Washington. Rash of domestic terrorist incidents.
Happened early Christmas morning. 3 power substations in the Tacoma area targeted and vandalized. Another on Christmas night. Arriving officers found blue flames, the perimeter fence cut. In all, 14,000 people left without power. Amanda Clark lost electricity and her well water.
Scary in our small little community that something like that would happen.
We're going to be investigating to see if this was coordinated by a specific group or people.
The FBI issued a warning this month after power companies in Oregon and southern Washington were attacked using hand tools, arson, firearms, and metal chains, possibly in response to an online call for attacks on critical infrastructure. In North Carolina, substations were attacked with gunfire, knocking out power to 45,000 homes and businesses. A Homeland Security Terrorism Advisory warned in November that domestic actors and foreign terrorist organizations maintain a visible presence online to motivate supporters to conduct attacks in the homeland. The FBI seems concerned that domestic terrorism is encouraging this online. What's the motivation?
They're looking for chaos and destabilization because they believe the government is oppressive. They believe the government is what keeps everything going, and they don't like the way things are going.
Homeland Security is increasingly concerned that the electric grid is vulnerable, targeted by domestic extremists motivated by election anger, the Capitol insurrection, Nazi ideology, socio-political issues, and encouraging each other online.
Speaking of Nazi ideology, I had a very interesting encounter on Twitter. Who was it a video of? The video doesn't really matter so much. But it was a video of somebody talking about Holocaust denial. And it might have been the quartering. It might have been Jordan. It was somebody to that effect. And I made a point about, like, you know, free speech doesn't protect you from a platform taking down Nazi propaganda. And the amount of people who responded to me with, like, oh, anything you don't like is Nazi propaganda. And I'm like, no, the video specifically referenced Holocaust denial. That is Nazi propaganda. Like, that's insane that anybody would question whether or not that was Nazi propaganda, or accuse me of, like, oh, anything you don't like is Nazi propaganda. Oh no, we were specifically talking about Holocaust denial, which, after viewing some of them's timelines, they didn't consider it Nazi propaganda. They considered it a fact. Man, I saw one who'd shared out this editorial from a newspaper in Kansas in the 70s where this guy was talking about how, like, he was in concentration camps and he never saw any gas chambers. And I'm like, what? That's fucked up. One, how do you verify that this letter to the editor that they wrote in a newspaper in Kansas in 1970 was actually somebody that was in a fucking concentration camp and wasn't just a Nazi wanting to spread propaganda? And even if I do take it at face value, I'm sure you could be in a concentration camp and not actually see a gas chamber if you lived through the concentration camps. Perhaps you wouldn't have seen the gas chamber because you lived. Yeah, like, and that was the first thing that came to my mind when I'm reading that. Is like, I've seen the people with the tattoos on their arm talk about the horrors of the concentration camp. And like in this letter to the editor, they're like, oh, people didn't really die from the Nazis, they died from typhoid. Mr. Balls, good evening. Yeah. I had an argument with some Holocaust deniers, which are becoming more prevalent on Twitter, in case you were unaware. Funny how that happened. Funny how that happened after Elon took over. Weird. Speaking of neo-Nazi groups, a neo-Nazi was sentenced plotting to kidnap the governor of Michigan.
Just coming into our newsroom moments ago, a judge sentencing the convicted ringleader in the kidnapping plot against Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Adam Fox was facing up to life behind bars. The judge sentenced him to 16 years in federal prison for conspiring to abduct and kill Whitmer and for planning to blow up bridges as part of his escape plan. Fox and his fellow conspirator, Barry Croft, were convicted in August for leading the abduction plot just before the 2020 presidential election. Croft's sentencing is set for tomorrow. Joining me now, MSNBC legal analyst Danny Savalos. Thanks, Danny. I know we've just gotten this in, but walk us through this decision, 16 years for Adam Fox. What did the judge have to consider here?
16 years is a really good outcome for Adam Fox because his sentencing guidelines.
I was thinking the same thing.
Complex formula that takes into account all of these factors of the crime, where it starts out by calculating there
are people that are locked up for the rest of their lives over like nonviolent drug offenses.
But then you have all of these aggravating factors, and Adam Fox had so many of them that the recommended sentence guideline range was life. it was the highest that you could get in federal court. But since about 2004, I think the year was, the Supreme Court rendered these sentencing guidelines advisory only. So the judge has to calculate them, but the judge is not bound by them. So really anything under a life sentence for Adam Fox was a win. A sentence like this is a
definitely needs to
win.
keep
It may
that
not
beard
feel that way for the defendant. Of course, it never does. And especially in federal court, where you're really going to do most of your time. You're going to get about a 15% reduction for each year for good time. But there is no parole system in the federal prisons. So you're going to have to do most of your time, that actual 16 years. It's not like he's going to get out in 3 because of overcrowding. When you're in federal prison, you're mostly there for the duration.
Help us put it into kind of a big picture context, Daddy. This has been called the largest domestic terrorism case in a generation. How important
Did
is
you call him Daddy?
sentencing needs to send a message against what we all know?
Here's his name, Danny, or some shit.
Extremism.
Well, that's what the government argued in their sentencing memorandum. Maybe they made the point that
domestic terrorism case in a generation.
So you're going to have to do most of your time, that actual 16 years. It's not like he's going to get out in 3
say Daddy
because of overcrowding. When you're in federal prison, you're mostly there for the duration.
Help us put it into kind of a big picture context, Daddy. This has been called the largest
Daddy.
terrorism case in a
You live in
generation.
sexual
How
anarchy?
important is the argument that sentencing needs to send a message against what we all know is a growing threat of domestic extremism?
Well, that's what the government argued in their sentencing memorandum. Maybe they made the point that there is almost every possible aggravating factor is here. 5 or more people. You have
his name is Danny.
Terrorism enhancement. You have a ringleader enhancement. You have so many different things that drag this case up to a case of the highest level of severity. And one of the things also to point out,
my mind's just in the gutter.
Terrorism or bank robbery, an incomplete conspiracy. In other words, a conspiracy that fails still has to be punished in the American system, because obviously we don't want to give people a break just because they're bad at planning or unsuccessful, or the government, law enforcement, stops the crime before it happens. So we absolutely punish conspiracies and attempts, even if they haven't completed the object.
Yeah, it definitely needs a beard.
But, I mean, the terrorism enhancement, along with all the other enhancements, made Adam Fox a really good candidate, or any defendant, even if they were a first-time offender. This has happened before in terrorism cases. Somebody with 0 criminal history gets a life sentence. So you could really say that Fox here dodged a bullet if he's only going to spend any number of years in prison.
Yeah, judges don't usually go light on offenders. That is odd. Weird the way I know our justice system. And 16 years, yeah. I mean, I would, like, if I'm the one delving out sentences here, maybe I would say 16 years is probably a good, in a just world, 16 years is probably a good sentence for that. But comparative to the way we punish others in our current justice system, something smells funny. Something smells real funny. I faced 5 to 10 for second offense marijuana possession. Just saying. White House is calling Greg Abbott's migrant stunt over Christmas a shameful stunt.
This morning, days after buses of migrants were dropped off in 18-degree cold on Christmas Eve outside the Vice President's
good evening.
Washington, a spokesperson for Texas Governor Greg Abbott confirming the migrants came from Texas, saying they willingly chose to go. Many of the migrants, including children, were not wearing proper winter coats and clothing. Abbott's communications director saying the migrants signed a voluntary consent waiver in multiple languages.
Probably had no idea what they were signing.
ABC's Martha Raddatz about the bus drop-off in multiple cities.
And I removed them to locations that self-identified as sanctuary cities that have the capability and the desire
to help out these migrants. And so that's exactly what's taking place.
The White House calling the move on Christmas Eve a shameful stunt, but
these places will willingly take the migrants. You need to coordinate with them, Governor Abbott.
Abbott's office firing back, slamming the White House as a bunch of hypocrites. The back and forth comes as both sides await a ruling from the Supreme Court on Title 42, a pandemic-era policy that allows the government to expel asylum seekers on public health grounds. The Biden administration argues the COVID emergency is over. Abbott says otherwise.
Whether it's COVID or some other issue, when you have people coming across the globe without knowing at all what their health status is,
well,
that almost by definition is a public health risk.
Well, if the COVID emergency isn't over, why don't we still have an eviction moratorium and extended unemployment and all that good shit? Why is the only COVID policy that you want to stay in place the one that is bigoted towards migrants? I do have an update on that ruling from the Supreme Court. They allowed it to stay in effect. We're gonna keep kicking migrants out of the country.
The Supreme Court ruling that it will remain in effect for now. NBC's Sam Brock is in El Paso, Texas with the latest. And Sam, we can see the reality of the border there behind you, and tonight some major news.
Yeah, Tom, as you look around me right now, it is organized chaos here in El Paso, one of many cities across the country that's dealing with an immigration crisis right now. And Tom, the Supreme Court voting 5-4 today to extend Title 42 as an emergency measure, taking up the case, which is now going to be decided.
5-4.
After months of legal limbo, the Supreme Court siding with Republican lawmakers and keeping Title 42 intact for now. The policy allows the government to block asylum seekers from some countries, but not others. The conditions have been dire. Overnight in El Paso, bodies bundled by blankets and near freezing temperatures, with local shelters either full or unavailable to those without proper documentation. A nearby bus serving as the only break from the cold. Some migrants showing us cut wrists from cartels, skin damaged by the freeze, and perilous train rides. This family traveled for 5 months from Honduras with 5 kids, the youngest a 1-year-old, all covered in blankets that are wet from frost, now sick with the flu or gripe. What do you want to do, I ask. The father tells me a life where my kids can study, a nice roof over our heads and clothes, as the mother adds, and to be free. This man from Venezuela says the close.
Hey, Source Sausage, I'd like to point out the reason why they are here. Right-wingers, they got this little phrase, right-wing death squads. And they have these symbols of helicopters throwing people from the helicopters. It's a very popular trope on your side. That actually happened. That was what the Reagan administration funded in Honduras. So they are actually fleeing U.S. foreign policy, where we propped up right-wing death squads in Honduras. Nothing happens in a vacuum. That's one of the reasons why I get so upset with right-wingers. You guys only see, there is a migrant coming into the country. You don't see all the factors around why they are coming, and that it may quite possibly be our fault as to why their country is unsafe for them. You see? and right-wingers also love to bring up people who have fled communist countries. Here's the results of right-wing policies. And here are people fleeing the right-wing utopias that Republican administrations have created.
Clothes he's wearing came from churches, nonprofits, and Good Samaritans. With lives at stake, the politics have taken center stage. Texas Governor Greg Abbott tonight tweeting about the nearly 16,000 migrants that Texas has bussed all over the U.S. We're providing relief to local communities overwhelmed by President Biden's open border policies, he wrote. The White House tonight saying Title 42 is a public health measure. It should not be extended indefinitely. Adding, to truly fix our broken immigration system, we need Congress to pass comprehensive immigration reform. And with no measures in sight, it's status quo. As people line up and wait for food, wondering still what their future will look like only months from now. Sam Brock, NBC News, El Paso.
I think Curiouser might have been singing him a song. I'm not exactly sure. I couldn't hear. You deserve to have yourself sung a song, sir. Awesome cat. Oh, shit. Now, I thought we were going to get Trump's taxes released today. Unfortunately, that is not going to happen. It is going to be Friday. Friday is when Congress will reportedly release Trump's tax returns. Former President Donald Trump's tax returns are reportedly slated to be released Friday morning by the House Ways and Means Committee. According to CNN, ABC News, beginning at 9 a.m., the returns will reportedly be placed in the congressional record during a pro forma session. This is what I was expecting them to do, read it into the record. The committee, which voted last week 24-16 to release the document, is also set to release a formal report about the records. The committee also released a report last week that the IRS disregarded its own requirement to conduct a mandatory audit of Trump's taxes, which has been a requirement since 1977. Republicans and Trump have argued they should be kept private. Still, the AP reported that Trump was dealt a significant blow last month when the Supreme Court rejected Trump's bid not to have Congress examine his tax returns. He didn't pay shit in taxes, and he ain't worth no fucking $1 billion. Just from what we know already, I can guarantee you, he ain't worth no fucking $1 billion. He didn't pay shit in fucking taxes. Chris Hayes had a couple of legal experts on, and they were debating whether Trump would be indicted or not, and their view is a resounding yes. Yes, he will.
Fraud scheme. He faces a civil inquiry by the New York Attorney General into his business practice, as well as renewed scrutiny from the Manhattan DA of the 2016 hush money payment made to an adult film actress. On the federal level, there's, of course, the new special counsel, Jack Smith, and his dual investigations into separate inquiries, the mishandling of government documents, and the president's possible involvement or incitement of the Capitol riot and attempts to overturn the election. Meanwhile, in Georgia, a grand jury in Fulton County is looking into attempted interference in that state's 2020 election. Still at the table, Maya Wiley, Andrew Weissman, and Charles Coleman. I'm going to play this game with all three of you. So here's the thought experiment.
We're playing a game.
Who's anonymous.
I love games.
We're in a counterfactual world, right? So you don't know it's Donald Trump. But you get hired, Andrew Weissman, as the new legal team. They fire their old lawyers. And day one, you get like the briefing book with the rundown of the legal issues facing your client. And your first meeting with the client, your client says to you, am I going to be indicted? And you say what?
Yes.
Bye-bye, baby.
It's happening.
You really think that if you were advising him right now or any other client with this stuff that you say, you know what time it is to
It's not whether it's going to happen. It's when and with how many of these things that are in front of you.
And how many counts?
I would say to him, what we have to focus on is the state cases. The federal, you're going to get indicted federally. Period. The end. That is what Jack Smith is going to do. Whether it's on one or two things, we don't know. But either one of those is not good. One is better than two, but that's going to happen. There may be a political solution ultimately on a federal indictment, because if there is a Republican president, it is unlikely that will come to fruition. There will be a trial, there will be a guilty verdict, and you will be sentenced before there's a next presidential election. So that's one area we have to worry about.
This is your advice is like, understand this is going to happen.
Federal's going to happen. The real name of the game is the states, because there's no ability to be pardoned federally for a state crime. So if there's a Georgia indictment or a New York indictment, that's where you have to worry, because if you're indicted in New York, you are going to go to jail. If in Georgia, you're probably going to go to jail as well, unless they change the rules and allow the governor to pardon you. Right. So that is where we need to spend our time, is looking at those cases and figuring out what the defenses are there. And in both of those, I think there are potential issues. I mean, I think the strongest of all of the things that we've seen, at least from the outside, is in the Mar-a-Lago case. That I don't see.
Strongest in which direction?
Strongest in the sense that the government is going to indict, and it is hard to see a valid defense there.
Right. And why is that?
That is just a simple case. He took the documents. He knew he took the documents. There are probably going to be a whole lot of lawyers from the White House who are going to probably be key witnesses to say.
There were still more documents.
I told him
the FBI didn't even recover everything.
Property, and the fact that it took 18 months of drips and drabs is going to be unbelievably damning evidence.
Renato Mariotti has used this line. I think others have as well. Charles said. He said it's kind of like a drug case. Like, if you get searched and you've got a pound of cocaine, like. You're in a lot of trouble. I mean, you got to have some explaining to do because, like, the thing is there, right? You're in possession of the illegal thing. You have to come up with some theory that's going to have to be a pretty good one to get out above that problem.
You know, for most of the year, Donald Trump, from a legal perspective, spent the year as the gingerbread man. No one could capture him. No one could sort of pin him down until this Mar-a-Lago thing exploded.
It's true.
And I agree with Andrew. It's the most straightforward route as a former prosecutor that I would use or look at in terms of everything else because it's so cut and dry. The intent is there.
Apparently, Smith is also going to be in charge of January 6th.
The documents with his personal effects. I mean, it's really the easiest case to establish, and he really doesn't have a defense with it. I expect that he will likely play to the court of public opinion in as much as trying to minimize the charges because he doesn't have a leg to stand on in the court of law.
I want to talk about that in a second, but you want to...
Yeah, but the court of public opinion doesn't fucking matter.
I agree, by the way, this is strongest prosecution. I'm just going to say Georgia.
Yeah.
Fulton County jury, he is directly engaged in trying to find an exact number of votes that he needs to win. He's made multiple calls. He sends his chief of staff down there. He is directly implicated, clearly trying to influence the outcome of that election. It is not going to be an easy, I'm not saying he can't mount a defense. Of course he can mount one. I'm just looking at the juries he's going to face in Fulton County. And I'm just saying he's got a lot of
problems. The line that I've used before on the air, and I continue, is that I lived in Chicago and where I got my start as a reporter. And there are a lot of corruption stories in Chicago, as you might know. And when I heard that phone call, one of my first thoughts was, if there was a recording of a Chicago alderman who just lost a race calling the Cook County clerk and saying, I just need these votes, that alderman would be indicted by the Northern District U.S. Attorney by the end of the week in a big, like, we got him, like, PR thing. It would be a badge of honor. And I saw that sort of thing, those cases roll up all the time. Like, when Rod Blagojevich is on tape being like, this thing is golden, right? Like,
I think it's a little more complicated there, and that, you know, the job as a prosecutor or a defense lawyer is to make sure you're looking through everything for what are the possible arguments. You know, that wasn't a phone call just with Donald Trump on it and just with the state elector. So it is so important for the state to know exactly what happened beforehand. He was clearly reading in part from a script. You want to make sure that he does not have a defense of saying, wait a second,
I was told by my lawyers.
This was blessed. I mean, look, lawyers are both great and not great, because a lot of times lawyers will bless something that they shouldn't have. But if you do that, it gives the client a potential defense.
And this gets to something I think is really important, is that...
Wait. Just because his lawyers told him he was in the clear, or they were on the phone call, doesn't mean that he's, like, not accountable. It doesn't work like that.
These are all, I mean, aside from...
I would think that would put the lawyers on the hook as opposed to letting Trump off the hook.
Case, which we can talk about back again. You know, I think you're right. Like, there's a weird thing where the most serious things he did are the hardest cases to make. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's like, I keep coming back to the theme. It's the most important crime that Donald Trump committed is he tried to end constitutional governance in the United States of America.
But there's a reason for that, because they're very complicated cases.
That's right.
And so, and I said from very, very long ago, earlier this year, what ends up being, you know, the thing that nails the coffin shut for him may not be the most exciting or sensational thing. Like, think about, you know, the fact that the Elliot Ness, I believe.
Yeah, Capone with the taxes.
Well, Capone, was taxes, right? And so it may not be the most sensational thing that brings him down, but there's a reason for that, because this is a guy who has been involved in a lot of very deep and convoluted shady business.
But he hasn't stood trial for them all. And I just want to say, I think he is going to be indicted in Georgia. I think what we're talking about is, what does he actually go to prison for? We don't know, and Mar-a-Lago is the best bet. I completely agree with that. But I'm just saying, a man who's out here
I think prison
is facing very serious state charges,
forward.
and what he is known for is being the mob boss that says, wink,
indictment is likely. Prison?
He was not winking and nodding in this case.
That is a very, very good point. Maya Wiley, Andrew Weissman, Charles Coleman. I learned a lot at the table.
Prison is just but then again, it's Trump. Like I've said before, they'll give him the opportunity not to be perp walked, but I kind of think that Trump wouldn't take that opportunity. Like, he's not going to turn himself in, right? They're going to have to go like all up in Mar-a-Lago and bring him out. And that'll be fun to watch. But they're going to give him every opportunity to be treated like a special person. Is that the right word? Special with special privileges. Not special person. Let's go down to Georgia. Lindsey Graham wanted to use a credit card company technology to throw out absentee ballots in Georgia. Old Lady Graham. What's up, Disposable Thumb? Testimony given to the January 6th committee this Tuesday, Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger was questioned over Senator Lindsey Graham's phone call to him back in November of 2020, where he suggested rejecting mail-in votes in the presidential election from counties with high rates of questionable signatures. Graham's phone calls to Raffensperger were followed weeks later by Donald Trump, who asked Raffensperger to find 11,780 votes to secure the 2020 election for him. Raffensperger told the committee that Graham thought credit card companies had technology that Georgia could use to assist with signature matching on ballots in Fulton County, saying that Graham suggested using the technology to go through all 150,000 absentee ballots very quickly using a machine process. Lindsey Graham, you fucking idiot. Credit card companies don't check your fucking signature when you sign the little slip of paper that they print out. God damn, you're stupid. You can pretty much sign whatever the fuck you want. It's not like it's gonna flag you for fraud if it doesn't match a signature they have in some database or some shit. Holy fuck. Lindsey Graham is stupid.
Do you think we're stupid? You think we're fools?
That man's a senator. That man's a senator. He's probably wrote banking legislation. Fuck. So Katie Hobbs, the governor-elect in Arizona, requested that Kari Lake be sanctioned for her questioning of the election results. We're going to hear the rationale, and then I have an update.
This is CBS News Flash. I'm Courtney Keeley in New York. Democratic Governor-elect Katie Hobbs of Arizona and Maricopa County filed sanctions against Kari Lake after a judge ruled against Lake's attempt to declare herself the winner of the November election. The county called Lake's lawsuit groundless. According to the Food and Drug Administration, 4 lots of the blood pressure medication Quinapril.
Oh, I was wondering what the Food and Drug Administration had to do with that. Moving on, it's like a headline thing. Okay. Well, let's get the update because the judge ruled earlier today. Arizona judge refuses to sanction Kari Lake, finding that her election lawsuit was not successful but not groundless. An Arizona judge declined to issue sanctions against defeated gubernatorial candidate Kari Lake, finding that the election challenge that she filed was not successful but also not groundless. Sunday, what is up, my friend? Thank you for being a freaking follower. There is no doubt that each side believes firmly in its position with great conviction. Maricopa County Superior Court Judge Peter Thompson wrote in a 3-page minute order on Tuesday. 3-page minute order. The fact that plaintiff failed to meet the burden of clear and convincing evidence required for each element of the relevant state code does not equate to a finding that her claims were or were not groundless and presented in bad faith. Seemed awful bad faith to me. Thompson noted that passions surrounding the case are high. Any legal decision must be based on the law and facts rather than subjective beliefs or partisan opinions, no matter how strongly held. The court has heard all the evidence and arguments. The court has carefully examined and thought through the facts and evidence before it in the motions and at the hearing. On Christmas Eve, Thompson found that Lake lost a valid election and failed to produce any evidence of intentional misconduct. There you have it. Going from the governor of Arizona to the governor of South Dakota. Kristi Noem got a badass Christmas present. She took to Twitter to show it off. What did she get? She got a fucking flamethrower. Kristi Noem criticized for playing with flamethrower as thousands freeze in her own state. Oh, shit. Kristi Noem's new toy.
Perfect. I think this. Perfect. I think this.
Guess that's one way to burn up your Christmas trash.
I think this. Perfect. I think this. Perfect.
As the governor of South Dakota and possible 2024 presidential contender, Kristi Noem. Their flamethrower that she got for Christmas. I got a multi-purpose survival tool, and I was very happy about that, but flamethrower is awfully fucking cool. I gotta admit, I'm a little jealous of her flamethrower. Last week we did the story of the gay Jewish representative-elect Republican George Santos. Santos has admitted to lying.
Finally speaking out, ending a week of silence.
The Long Island congressman-elect now admits he did lie on his resume and about his background. CBS 2's John Diaz joins us live from the Syosset train
Just a little padding.
in Nassau County, part of his new district. And John, what's next for Santos?
Andrea and Natalie, good morning to both of you. Well, Santos is remaining resolute. He's remaining determined that he will still become New York's 3rd district's next congressman, even though he lost.
It really seems like Kevin McCarthy ain't gonna give a shit. So if it's up to McCarthy whether this fuck gets seated or not, he's gonna be seated. Well, Soup, let me catch you up on this. He said he worked for Goldman Sachs, and Goldman Sachs says they have no record of him. He says he went to NYU, and NYU says they have no record of him. He said he was gay, openly gay. Running for office as a Republican, he divorced a woman 2 weeks before announcing his candidacy. That doesn't mean that you're not gay, but it raises some questions. He also said that his family fled the Holocaust. Now he's saying that he didn't say he was Jewish. He said he was Jew-ish. I'm not fucking lying.
He is confident that he will still be sworn in on January 3rd.
I'm not a fraud. I'm not a criminal.
But Congressman-elect George Santos admitting he did embellish his resume after a New York Times article exposed him, confessing to lying while running to represent the people of New York's 3rd District, which covers parts of northern Long Island and northeast Queens. The Republican saying this on WABC Radio yesterday, a conservative talk radio show.
And I'm not going to make excuses for this, but a lot of people overstate in their resumes or twist a little bit or ingratiate themselves. I'm not saying I'm not guilty of that. I'm just saying I've done.
I need to do that. I've never once embellished my resume. Apparently I need to. Apparently I should be.
So much good work in my career.
The 34-year-old claimed to have worked for Goldman Sachs and Citigroup, but in an interview with the New York Post, he confessed he only worked for a company that did business with both of them. Santos also claimed to have graduated from Baruch in 2010, but now he said...
Well, okay, fair enough. Like, I say I worked for Walmart Portrait Studios. And I worked for Walmart. I didn't technically work for Walmart. I worked for a company that worked for Walmart.
He never graduated from any college.
I want to make sure that if I disappointed anyone by resume embellishment, I'm sorry. One thing is, I will be sworn in. I will take office. I will be able to be an effective member of the legislature.
When I interviewed Santos in September about the historic election he was a part of, the first time two openly gay candidates were facing off in a general election for Congress, he talked about morals.
And I've always said, we have a fundamental obligation and moral obligation to leave a better country for the next generation.
I might even swipe right on him.
I believe that that's the direction that the country's going in.
Long Island Democrats have been calling for Santos to step down. Legislator Josh Lefanzin saying, quote, George Santos has now publicly admitted to what we have all known for a week. He is a liar and a fraud. Others wonder how both sides didn't do their homework better.
Opposition research is a key part of any campaign. You know, if they didn't know about this, then it is shocking.
He flipped a blue seat, by the way.
He will sue the New York Times for defamation. He has said that he still does not know all of his options, but he will be looking into it. We're live this morning from Sayas at Long Island. John Diaz, CBS 2 News.
He flipped a blue seat, so that is one of the reasons why the Democrats lost. If he is unseated, I don't know what New York's procedure is. If they have to hold a special election, if the governor gets to appoint somebody, that would be a +1 for Democrats, and would put the Republicans at having a 3-seat advantage in Congress. From Congress to the Senate, lying seems to be something that is pretty in vogue with right-wingers. Lady B, good evening. You'll never see him. Speculation swirls over Republican Senator Tom Cotton's official residence. Now, as I said, I have been to Arkansas, so I don't blame him for not going there very often. There is much speculation around how much time Arkansas Senator Tom Cotton spends away from his apartment address and listed voting residence in Little Rock, Arkansas. Cotton's social media accounts typically indicate the senator's location, and according to Arkansas Times, his accounts can go many weeks without posting pictures that confirm his presence in the state. Little Rock State Senator Clark Tucker highlighted one of Cotton's tweets from July that said, "One of the many reasons I'm happy to be back in Iowa, Casey's Pizza." The post includes a photo of the senator standing in front of Casey's General Store. Taking a shot at Cotton, Tucker said, "To me, anyone who has campaigned in Arkansas ought to know that there are plenty of Casey's General Stores in Arkansas with that pizza available. So, when something like that happens, it really fuels the speculation that he may not be spending a whole lot of time here." Iowa. Tom Cotton is in Iowa in July. I wonder why he might be doing that. He is running for president in 2024. That's my speculation. Not much actual speculation, though. David Kaufman, the senator's next-door neighbor in Little Rock, told Arkansas Times, "You'll never see him." Said he rarely sees anyone coming or going from the residence. Another neighbor of Cotton's, who asked to remain anonymous, said the same, but added that she thought at one point the unit might be serving as an Airbnb. So Tom Cotton might be renting his residence out. Aside from his social media disclosing his location, Cotton's recent his suicide coordinates, terroristic threatening what did suicide coordinates? Assassination coordinates. That's what I meant to say. He's posting his assassination coordinates. I really am. I'm tired. I'm very tired. Cotton's recent financial report also provides insight into his most frequented residence. The report included a 30-year mortgage based in McLean, Virginia, outside of Washington, D.C. Cotton said in an interview, "I've always had a home in Arkansas, obviously, first in Dardanelle, then in Little Rock. But since I was elected, like most members, I also have a residence in the D.C. area as well." He's clearly running for president. God damn it, Smokey. Hold on, I gotta let Smokey in. And then once I let Smokey in, we're gonna watch Chaya Raichik on with Tucker Carlson earlier today. Smokey being so whiny. Are you whiny, buddy? He wants attention. Oh, he hopped up on the futon. Buddy. Fine. I didn't want to see you anyway. I think he's gonna hop on the nightstand. There you go. There you see some smoking in the background. So this morning, Tucker Carlson dropped his interview with Chaya Raichik, the owner of the account Libs of TikTok. I have not watched this yet, but apparently it's pretty vile. So here she is with Tucker Carlson. This interview dropped today. This is from his daytime talk show.
What is going on here? Do you have any theories?
I think there's something so unique about the LGBTQ community has become this cult, and it's so captivating, and it pulls people in so strongly, unlike anything we've ever seen.
What the fuck? It's a cult. I don't understand what he'd like. You are a Trump supporter. You really are in a cult, ma'am. You're probably very religious, if I had to guess. Is this you're using cult as a pejorative to try to put down other people? Because you actually are in a cult, as with most things. It's just more projection from right-wing morons. Trump rules dickhead. Is dickhead an island somewhere that I didn't know about?
And they brainwash people to join, and they convince them of all of these things. And it's really, really hard to get out of it. It's really difficult. And there are studies on this. Like there's been a lot of reporting on this about people, parents who are like, my child is starting to say, that they're non-binary or transgender or whatever, and what do I do? How do I stop this? And it's really, really difficult. It's unlike anything we've ever seen, I think. It's extremely poisonous.
But do you see a spiritual component to any of this?
Yeah,
You don't have to answer that if you don't want.
I don't know.
Well, I do.
Because she's in a cult.
It doesn't make sense at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And I think
yes, what you were describing doesn't make any sense because it's not fucking true. You're talking about the LGBTQ community being a fucking cult or some shit. Yeah, I don't know what study she's talking about, that like gay kids are actually gay and that you shouldn't try to fucking change them or something. I would love to know what study she's talking about.
You don't have to answer that.
As with most things, I would say like it's not an actual study. She's actually referring to Answers in Genesis or some shit like that. Right-wingers love to misconstrue things.
Don't want.
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, I do. I don't think this makes sense at all.
No, it doesn't make any sense. And I think they're evil. And sometimes we try to break it down a lot, and we discuss like why this is happening, what's happening, and whatever. And I think sometimes the simplest answer is like they're just evil. They're bad people. They're just evil people. And they want to groom kids.
They're just evil people and they want to groom kids. She's talking about us. Ma'am. I mean, I don't even know where to go with this. Do I pull up the Southern Baptist Convention that admitted to actually raping kids and covering it up, harassing the victims? I'll pull up the numerous stories of cops raping kids. All right, by groom kids, what she means is teach them to be tolerant and not bigoted like her. That's what she means. Because allowing children to grow up with diverse sets of viewpoints causes them to be well-rounded individuals that don't just, hate people irrationally. Do you want to talk about being in a cult? You want to talk about being in a cult? I think the people who were at the Capitol on January 6th are in a cult. Huh. Sometimes this happens to me, and I don't understand it. Second. Hold on. It only took a couple of hours.
Go! Get in the building! Get in the building! Me and my boy!
For an extremism researcher to identify one Miss Chaya Raichik.
Get in the building! Me and my boy! The building! Go!
Right there.
Get in the building!
January 6th.
Get in the building! Me and my boy! The building! Go! Get in the building!
Multiple people tagged the FBI on Twitter. There you can see her face. I do believe that is her. Within hours of her interview on Tucker Carlson. People were like, yep, now that she revealed her face, we can confirm it's her. Now, my question is, I had seen her face already. I didn't know that this was some big grand reveal. I thought everybody knew what she looked like. Apparently not, though. But some internet sleuths put it together. She was at January 6th. Which is probably one of the least surprising things ever. All right, I gotta get out of here. It's bedtime. Bedtime for Bonzo. That's what my mom used to say. My mom used to tell me that when I was a little kid. She's like, it's bedtime for Bonzo. I didn't know that was the stupid ass movie that Ronald Reagan made with a monkey. Your dad would tell you that too. I never knew that it was that fucking monkey movie that Ronald Reagan made. But here's your chonky cat. And oh my God, look at that chonk. This is the chonkiest chonk that's ever chonked. And I thought I had chonky cats. And I do. I have very chonky cats. That's a unit of chonk. Oh shit. So I'm thinking about doing something for New Year's Eve. If you're on the Spotify, you can go check out the 3-part Best of 2022. That will be up on YouTube sometime tonight. I'm gonna divide it up into chapters so you can skip ahead to Dalton Codfelter. You can skip ahead to Matt Walsh. You can skip ahead to Lauren Boebert talking about wonton killings. You can find out about sexual anarchy. You can hear about the woke moralists. I'll have all that marked out for you in chapters on the YouTube.
Woke moralists. We'll see who cancels who.
Who we raiding, Soup? Pick them for me. That's who I was just looking at it. Who we raiding? Tell me. Nabil. You did give us somebody who's doing politics, right? Yeah. That's what we do. Old non-smoker. I need to raid non-smoker. We'll do non-smoker next time. Go ahead, light one up, tip one back. It's all right to have a little fun before you hit the sack. I am Justin FREAKIN. We will see you tomorrow night on the Troll Patrol live.